Hey, yo, and welcome to the AWO Journeyman podcast, a podcast talking all things footy. I am JD, the Blues fan with a date with a cardiologist, as I'm seriously scared that Carlton will give me a heart attack one of these days soon. Joining me is my good friend Nate. He's the Pies fan who has assured me that the hype around the Pies is well justified.
And can I just say as well, being a Pies fan last year, get used to these close wins, JD.
Oh, I'm ready for it. And of course, we have Meso, who will be joining us soon, but he is the Freo fan who still isn't sure why Matt Tabernar's in the side. We could be wrong today. I don't know. I haven't been watching if Matt Tabernar's been playing well. But boys, let's talk some footy.
Before we get into footy, though, I think I need to take full responsibility for my actions last week. So I've prepared myself an apology. So here goes. Damn girl, you look fine. Why don't you come over here and back that ass up? Sorry, wrong statement. To my family, friends, but most importantly, the AWO journeymen and fans involved. Last week, we recorded the AWO podcast. Things went well, supposedly, no connection issues, just a smooth podcast. JD was best on podcast as usual. I thought I had a decent performance, supposedly, until we went through the recording, only to find that my audio had an echo involved the entire time.
Ugh.
My connection, camera, mic were all good, but my audio wasn't. The echo, along with my deep monotone voice, left a gaping hole in our performance. I know I take full responsibility for it. I would like to sincerely apologise for my inadequate audio, which resulted in a subpar podcast. I promise to do better and to double check my equipment for future recording podcasts. I regret the circumstances of my actions, which has led to the decision and the pain it has caused to my wife and my family. I apologise to all my teammates and all the Kangaroo supporters. However, I believe that this is the only proper and responsible course of action. Thank you.
I'm really proud of Nate. For those who don't know or who maybe just be listening in for the first time, Nate had an awful time last week with his, once we got off the podcast, he realised his audio was absolutely done. So we started off the podcast this week with a little bit of talk about the Derby, since Mason will be joining us quite soon, as it's 3 minutes to halftime. I think he'll be joining us at halftime. Hopefully everything goes to plan. So I thought in the time being, we'll talk our favourite Derby moments. The Derby has become one of those games that, you know, no matter what sort of you do look, I mean, personally, I look forward to. Very fun game, especially when, you know, you're from Victoria and, you know, you're from a state where there's like 15,000 teams and, you know, it's very hard when rivalries sort of jump around. But, you know, at the moment, we're currently looking at 9-4-58 plays 5-7-37 in the current Derby that's taking place. Big Cheeky's just kicked the goal, Sean Darcy. So Freo on top, leading the charge. But yeah, so some moments that I personally love from the Derby. It's one that's a bit harsh on Freo fans to begin with, but Hayden Ballantyne's miss. That was one of my favorite moments, I think, ever. Mason will be out. So Nate, I've just sort of started talking about my favorite Derby moments. And I've said my first one, Hayden Ballantyne and the miss. I said it's harsh on Freo fans, but it's one of my absolute favorite moments from any of the Derbies, because it's to me it's so funny. It's just his celebration.
Did he really think he got the distance with that?
I believe he was on the front bar. 100% thought he got the distance.
He was about a metre short.
So
good purchase, but yeah, well off.
I mean, it hit the post, but yeah, absolutely hilarious. I mean, the moment's all down to the celebration. That's why it's purely. Oh, mate, and running into. I think he nearly did a lap before it even hit the post. So quite possibly one of my favorite moments in the Derby, and I'm just going to bring it up, the Demolition Derby. So I was looking at some clips of this before, and I think the first thing I saw was who was it? Was basically a bunch of fist fights. It was non-stop.
So hang on, did you see the one where Matthew Pavlich was defending his face with
That's the one.
jabs?
That's the one. That's the one that stood out. I couldn't get the names into my head because that had spot fires all over the ground, and it's absolutely hilarious to watch. What you got any moments from the derby that you personally love?
Personally love Daniel Kerr's goal of the year, 2003, only for Paul Medhurst to kick that snap to seal it. Secured finals for Fremantle, and I think secured a home final as well for Fremantle in 2003.
But it's one of those. What a snap from Medhurst as well. And we were talking about big celebrations. That's what Ballantyne wanted. That was legitimately
But you can't go past the Daniel Kerr goal. I think it was 4 or 5, maybe 6 bounces from the halfback flank. Runs to 40, 45, kicks a tremendous goal. And in the last round too. So he had the goal of the year secured with a few games left, and with minutes left as well. I don't know what was the runner-up for goal of the year there, but whoever that was can consider themselves unlucky on that one. I had a random moment as well. Do you remember Des Headland?
Des Headland? No, can't say.
Right, so former Brisbane player, number 1 draft pick, won a premiership for Brisbane in 2002. I think he played 2001, got traded to Freo in 2003. I want to say 2006, 2007. So Des Headland had a tattoo of his daughter on his shoulder, and one of the Selwood brothers was sledging him on a personal level. And so random play, Fremantle kicks it inside forward 50, and all you see is Headland and Troy or Adam Selwood just going at it because one of them was sledging Des Headland and his daughter. You can't find replays or highlights of it, or it's not really a highlight. It's pretty of a downer moment. But yeah, and it wasn't like a proper, jumper punch or anything. It was full on as well, them two going at it. Speaking of going at it, though, we do have to bring up the Andrew Gaff punch on good old
I was
Brayshaw.
gonna say the Andrew. Can I just quickly bring up? I think they've lost another West Coast. So if anyone, of course we sort of cover these Sunday games as they're sort of happening. So West Coast at the moment have lost Luke Shuey, Jeremy McGovern. And I don't know who's gone down with a head, but it definitely he seemed like he's gone down with a head. So sorry, I've cut us off. I've stopped us dead. But speaking of absolute brilliant moments, no, I shouldn't say it like that.
Oh, that was, and the interesting thing about it was Andy Brayshaw's brother Hamish was on West Coast list at the time in the stands when he saw that happen. So a bit awkward to rock up the training like that.
Still plays golf with him, doesn't he? If you really want to listen to the story, listen to, I believe it's Will Schofield's podcast, and listen to Hamish Brayshaw talk through the moment. If you want to hear something disgusting, listen to how they basically got Andy's teeth back into place. Because it was gnarly.
It was either, do it overnight? Was it either do it overnight, like properly, or he would have to be sedated in like this weird fucked up way?
Yeah, it was basically not going to happen for him. Halftime scores at the Freo and the current derby is 9-5-59, plays 5-7-37. Freo's way. Freo seem like they've actually sort of found a way with their forward line this game, which is nice to see. But and West Coast dropping like absolute flies at the moment. So
hitouts 36-5.
Well,
that's not an exaggeration. 36-5, and clearances 19-15. That's bound to happen. Bailey Williams is the standalone ruckman for West Coast up against Darcy and Jackson, but it seems like Darcy's just doing it on his own in the ruck. 30 hitouts to halftime, 86 fantasy points. And he's also kicked the goal. Big cheeky boy.
Big cheeky boy. My curiosity as well is let me just see if I can find it. Has Luke Jackson's taken a mark? They're absolutely on.
Meso's calling.
So joining us now on the podcast is Mason live from Optus Stadium. Hello. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How's the okay? Tell us, how's the game been?
Surprising.
Surprising.
Very surprising. I expected an absolute slapping from West Coast to us. I expected opposite scores, and then maybe add 20 more on for them.
So he just said he's expected West Coast to be up by 22 plus an extra 20 points on top of that.
Oh yeah.
Who you had your eye on today? Who's been playing well?
Jackson took a mark.
What did I say? I said this before. I was like, oh, they're gonna win. Jackson took a mark.
Oh man, I literally turned to the person next to me, did the wow emoji.
It's the stuff of fairy tales.
I was shooketh. Absolutely shooketh. Amos has been great. I mean, we rocked up late because we're trash. But we got there in the end. Walter, Sonny, give him an extra 2 years. Just do it.
Big call.
Even just for his on-field leadership, just do it.
Nathan just said big call on the Sonny.
Bit premature.
Do it now.
Nah, 2 weeks in a row, mate. Nate. He's worth the 2 years.
Wait, I have not even noticed Taberner. Actually, no. Sorry, my bad. The one time Taberner did something good, and then he absolutely fucks it up 10 seconds later.
The old crab man still not doing well.
Nah, but he's making himself a target, so it's giving Amos more space. So, yeah, I guess he's doing okay.
Guess he's doing okay.
Yeah, I guess he's doing okay. I don't know. Like, it's Ace is tagging Kelly like I thought he would, which is good. He's really taken down his influence on the game. Let's see if we can put the foot on the throat and kill him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be watching it. We'll be. I'll have it on the side here while we go through it. Is there anything else from the Freo game that you want to discuss, or?
No, not really. I'm still taking it in.
Well, I'll let you get back to it, and you just enjoy the game. But we'll speak to you a bit later on.
Love you, boys. Have a good one.
All right, catch you, mate. See ya. Good luck, go Freo. There we go. Our first ever call in from a game.
What a boy.
What a boy. I mean, you know what's funny? The feedback I got from last week's podcast, other than the mic, was where's Mason? Everyone loves Mason. How can you not? I was going to say, I'm sure he'll be back next week. So I'm sure you're about to say, we're doing our best. We'll do our best.
We are doing our absolute best.
Speaking of doing their absolute best, the Western Bulldogs, they did their absolute best on Thursday night.
Well, maybe performance-wise, stats-wise, not their absolute best, but the effort was absolutely there. Good to see him deliver that performance, though. From the get-go, I think the first 20 seconds, Ed Richards laid that tackle on Will Ashcroft to deny a goal. From that tackle, it set the tone for the game. Bontempelli leading from the front in that first half for the Dogs. McRae, Libba, as well. The Dogs got on top of the Lions in that midfield as well. And that set up the victory for the Western Bulldogs, but in particular, Jamara Ugelhagen kicking 5 goals. As given the week he had, good on him. That's all I can say on that. Is just good on him.
Well responded from good old Jamara. So the scores were 10-7, 67 plays 7-11, 53. And as you said, 5 of those 10 came from Jamara. So it really was a defining performance. He really is ready to start, I reckon, putting this team's on the back in terms of the forward line. As we've sort of been saying, I think with the Dogs' tools the last few weeks, has been that they need to work it out. And I think maybe working it out was just letting Jamara play football and playing a bit more freely in that forward line. I don't know. Felt like they opened it up a bit more for him and let him lead a bit more. And I mean, to be fair, he was fired up as well. So that was really good to see. and just the performance from the kid. I mean, how can you not love Jamara? So anyone out there who, not to get political, but I will say this: anybody who has any hate for Jamara or anything like that, this ain't the podcast for you. I can tell you that right now, because there's nothing but love for Jamara right now in this room. Great performance from him.
What kind of simpleton yells racial abuse at a game? It's that, and it's also sending abuse on social media as well. I get it. Someone has a bad performance, but don't yell abuse, especially racial. It's ridiculous.
It's I think it's sometimes ridiculous to just go at players anyway. I'm just going to say, race aside, I mean, we see players just absolutely get hammered for their performances weekly, and it's like we always joke and say whipping boys. Like, people really do have whipping boys, and they go mental on them every week. And it's like, you might want to actually think of the person about with this sometimes. But just to sort of go back to the game, I really don't think the Lions had any spark throughout Thursday night at all. They just couldn't get themselves going at all. They were very flat. And I tell you what, therefore, it's funny, we've been talking about the Dogs forward line for weeks. Their forward line could barely function on Thursday night. I don't know. I mean, I've actually heard a lot through the last few days, like, oh, that's just Joey. That's the way Joe plays. No, I tell you what, Joe really needs to work out sometimes when he, his performances. That was absolutely shitful, the way he went about it.
Straight into it.
But he was absolutely awful the way he went about it. And I tell you what, Hipwood couldn't do anything either. So Cameron was trying, like you could tell, but even he was just getting frustrated near the end with some of the deliveries that were coming in. And again, I don't think you should be relying on someone like a Cameron to be kicking all your goals. So very interesting performance from the Lions forwards. Don't think that was what they were expecting coming to face the Dogs. I think they thought they would probably come down here and steamroll them. But I think the Dogs reminded us finally what they are made of, and that this is, they're not going to be. I still don't think they were going to be easy beats this year. But I tell you what, they were looking like it those first few weeks with some of those performances. So it's good to see them work it out. Good to see some of their players get back to a little bit of form. And how can you not love Bontempelli?
Oh, just leads from the front.
All heart, Marcus Bontempelli. So, yeah, good to see the Dogs get themselves back into a little bit of form. Get to see someone like Jamara stand up and shut a lot of people up, which is really good to see.
I was going to say as well, Norton kicked a goal, Lob kicked 2, but Jamara Ugle-Hagan kicking 5. So their totals combining for 8 goals. 10 goals, 7's not going to win your games of footy most of the time. They still have to, fix their score. Oh, they've got to improve their scoring a bit, the Dogs.
It does when you kick 7 goals, 11.
Besides that, though, I mean, their effort, if they can keep that effort up for the remainder of the year, who knows where they'll be, but I don't want to see inconsistencies for the Dogs. I don't want to see them go back to what they were in round 1 and round 2 against the Tigers next week. As far as the Lions go, though, I do want to say I guess it's more of an off night compared to, they're not going to win the premiership. I saw a few comments straight after the game. Obviously, the forward line deserves their criticism, but I don't think it's warranted to go, all right, they're not going to win a premiership because of it. I expect Danaher, Hipwood, Gunston all bounce back. That forward line in general. Speaking of Gunston, I've got Gunston, Neil, Dunkley, Harris Andrews, and Will Ashcroft as the only players who can really hold their hands up high. What are you doing with your hand?
I'm patting Sean Darcy's head.
Oh, God, got me going there. But with the Lions, of the 23 players involved, only 5, I reckon, can say, look, they put in a decent performance. Their defence, the Lions' defence, I don't think we realise just how exposed they are. I don't think we realise guys like Marcus Adams and Darcy Gardner, just how valuable they are down back for them. When you've got Derek Joyce as your second key defender, it's a bit of a worry for the Brisbane Lions. I do think they'll fix it. Now, Brisbane's not that side that's going to fall backwards too much because of it. Cam Rayner off halfback is a waste. It's not for him. I don't know why. Dane Zorko last year was good off the halfback flank. Cam Rayner so far, not so much. Put Dane Zorko back across half back. Daniel Rich will come back in as well. keep Cam Rayner up forward or in the middle, not off halfback. I don't know why that experiment's still going on. Brisbane, they pride themselves off their clearance work, yet they only had 4 centre clearances for the entire game, which of all the games played so far, that's the lowest centre clearance count of any side this year. 4 centre clearances. Even though there's only 17 goals scored, they lost the centre clearance count 12-4. Just as far as the Dogs v Lions go, I didn't go to the game. I almost did. General admission tickets were, I think, $20 or less. Watching it on TV, I felt like I needed a refund. just watching it, I felt like I needed a refund. But a game I did go to was Collingwood v Richmond, and I do feel entitled to a refund given that performance. So Collingwood winning 8 goals, 15-63 to Richmond 7-7-49. Scrappy, wet conditions, and it reflected on the score. Just a general medal scrap.
It looked like it. So I'll go from the because you were at the game. So I'm just going to bring up a couple things, and then I'm going to let you go do into it like how I do Carlton games. Because when you're at the game, it's a whole different feel. And I like hearing somewhat the at the ground point of view sort of thing. So it looked like an absolute slog, and it looked like one of the ugliest wins that you've had in a very long time. Now, you had some ugly wins last year, but it looked even uglier than most of those. Ash Johnson is an absolute star when he wants to be, when he's on, I should say. 1 goal, 3, 10 score involvements, 15 disposals, and went into the ruck when you guys needed it. Interested on what you think of the ruck situation coming out of this week. And I guess we'll go into it where you think it leaves a team like Richmond after a big loss like that. Like, do you think playing a team like you who, let's be honest, it's very clear that you will go, you're very primed to play finals, like very early days, don't want to say, yeah, you are. But where does it leave a team like Richmond like that when they suffer a defeat against someone like you like that? Do you think it's maybe down to their injuries? Yeah.
Their injuries, first and foremost. No Dusty, no Hopper, no Short. Still got a few other players to come in as well. They can hold their heads up high. They only lost by 14 points. They weren't close as far as the stats go. They were within 3 points during the third quarter, so they can pride themselves off that. I think they'll be fine, Richmond. I don't think they'll look at this and go, gee, we've got a lot to work on. Just a few things to clean up. As far as the game goes, I was on level 4 and seeing Ash Johnson in the ruck, that specky ruck tap or whatever, he nearly touched me with that one.
Mate, I think he might still be hitting that, like up on that shot on the shoulders, hitting that ruck right now. It was a brilliant little piece of play.
We've got a lot of issues in the ruck, though, given Darcy Cameron's injury. Just my experience at the game, though, I was on level 4, though. It's always funny being on level 4 on the top level and just seeing fans yell abuse. Do you really think the players and the umps are going to listen to that from level 4?
They can hear it, mate. That's what I love. It they can hear it. To be fair,
use your spade.
Up on level 4 is where you see the most people, I feel like, get kicked out because they just try to yell abuse down to the ground, and you're like, mate, they can't hear you.
That's what I'm thinking every time. In the first quarter, I'm not sure if you saw this part or if you've seen the replay. So Billy Frampton cuts off an intercept. It's not a mark, but he gets tackled straight away. As he's tackled, he's kind of putting his arm up. So it was a bit of a contentious call. Was it holding the ball or not? So it was deemed a ball up. I
remember, yeah.
I looked at it. I think it's 50-50. I really do. You can pay that, you cannot pay it. I'm not gonna go bullshit if it's paid on the ball. It's half there, half not, depending on the umpire. I reckon it gets paid. A couple of minutes later, we get a goal. One of the Collingwood fans yells, "That's your goal, Frampton." And I see one Richmond supporter go, "Fuck off. That's holding the ball and you fucking know it." I'll tell you what, Richmond fans are something else. I know Collingwood's nuffies. I own that. But Richmond fans, my God, it seems like Richmond fans think there's a conspiracy against them. Like every time there's an umpire's call against them, they think the umpires in the world are against them. I don't get it.
I think, to be fair, your fans, our fans, their fans, and Essendon fans, like we say the big 4 clubs, mate, we're also the big 4 nuffies. Like we are all fucking dumb shit fans with the dumbest opinions at the games. Really? Like 100% we all are. Like, if I reckon some of the dumbest things I've heard are at all 4 of those teams' games. Like,
It is.
and my own, I hear some of the most awful things. Like, I'm not even going to harp on. I'm glad that sometimes I sit away from certain people because it's just like, oh, geez, I can't hear this anymore.
I've heard you say some dumb shit as well as a Carlton fan. Let's
Exactly.
throw that out there. Richmond fans are something else. When it comes to their results, when they start losing, they walk out straight away. I've never seen it like that before. They were down by 30 points at three-quarter time, and they bolted. I don't know if it was the train lines. I don't know what. It was a freezing game, though. So perhaps that's why. But at three-quarter time, they're entitled. I've had stories as well. 2 years ago, round 3 against Sydney, my mate went to that game. Half-time, Richmond fans left.
Does winning 3 flags make you a little bit entitled? So you're just like, nah, I don't need to see this anymore.
Debate over. It makes you entitled. All right, back to the game. Back to the game, though. De Goey, career high 35 disposals, 9 clearances as well. Nick Dacos, I have to mention him every fucking week now, 33 disposals. Wasn't his best game, but it was just typical Nick Dacos. I do want to bring up a couple of Richmond players, though. Noah Bolter, the Great Wall of Richmond. Taranto, 29 disposals, 9 clearances and 6 tackles. I just saw on the Sunday morning show, or Sunday footy show, that is, they were criticising his kicking efficiency.
Worst kick in the game.
I don't think it's impacting Richmond at all. I think without Taranto, they lose against Adelaide, and they probably lose against Carlton as well. So I don't know why they're harping on too much about it. Unless Richmond fans disagree, do Richmond fans really think Taranto's kicking has let them down, or it's the reason why they're losing? Or
well, I'll give him a little shout out as well, because there's something apparently we missed in the final Carlton play, where Lynch kicked the goal against Carlton in the final. Apparently, he puts on an absolute brilliant defensive effort in there. So shout out to Tim Taranto, because realistically, people could call him the worst kick in the game. He can be a little bit of an accumulator in some weeks. I will say that. But I heard this morning, literally, they should swing him forward. That'll be the move that makes him better. No, leave Tim Taranto where he is. He's doing fine. Tim Taranto will impact games in different. He's a different sort of player to what they're sort of thinking. I think they think he's like a bull that comes, like, runs. I don't know. They think he's a lot of a different player than he is. He's a bit more of that. I don't know. I find him a bit more classy, but I think he's to be fair, his footwork can use a little bit of work. But I mean, also, this is also the same guy whose best game was where he kicked 4 goals. So just saying, the guy can kick.
He can kick. I don't understand the criticism for Taranto. Liam Baker, though, 32 disposals. Get yourself a vacuum cleaner. The Liam Baker vacuum cleaner. He was so bloody clean off the ground in wet weather conditions. I reckon he should be, though.
He's just small.
He could very well be the best player on ground for both sides in that game. Mike, Nathan Murphy, who I call Mini Darcy Moore, or just Mini Moore.
Mini Moore.
There are times, last year, Nathan Murphy took a couple of inset marks against Carlton. I go, oh, great mark, Moore, but it's Murphy.
Yep, Mini Moore.
Mini Moore.
I think Mini Moore's the best thing. We've got some good nicknames for players that we're coming up with slowly through the podcast. So now we can just throw in Mini Moore now, because Mini Moore is one of my favorite ones.
Another defender that played very well, and sorry, John, you have to admit it. Billy Frampton kept Tom Lynch to just 1 goal. JD does not like Billy Frampton. I don't know why. He can do whatever he wants, Billy Frampton. If he can keep Tom Lynch to 1 goal and do his part, I'm happy. And he may very well be our ruckman for the Brisbane clash. And I'll get into that one. Darcy Cameron out for 6 to 8 weeks with an MCL strain. Collingwood have 10 players over 195 centimetres, and 5 of them are injured. No Cameron, no Cox.
Dire times for the Pies when it comes to height. Do you think they'll play the underdone ruck, or do you think that they'll go with Billy? Sort of the way we did it last year when we were ruckless and we went Jack Silvani. Will you go Billy Frampton as your mainstay?
I think the first game will go with either McStay, Frampton, AJ, maybe lesser extent Mychek. Because Oscar Steen, our preseason pickup, played the full game in the VFL. Only 19 hitouts. I didn't watch the game, though. Apparently, he held up pretty well. But if he plays a full game, then it's pretty clear he's not going to be playing in 5 days' time or on Thursday night against Brisbane.
Now, so you're saying that you're sort of saying Oscar Steen, VFL, talking about the VFL. Speaking of the VFL, Hawks v North, 11-14, 80, plays 9-7, 61. Hawks get their first win of the year, probably one of their few wins of the year. Not too much to say about this one other than the apprentice beats the master. Sammy Mitchell beat Clarko.
Clarko's return game. Apparently, he took his own flight over there and he took his own flight back home.
I think it's very justified based on everything that's going on. I think when legality battles and things are involved, he has every right not to be in the same room as anybody from Hawthorn. So it's very fair that he did those things, but I do think potentially, I don't know what you think about these sorts of things, but potentially maybe that hampers a little bit of their, because that's one thing that they've gone with is a very bonded team this year, and it probably didn't help losing Luke Davies-Uniacke before the bounce even started. Giving Supercoach fans literally minutes who traded him in to do anything about him getting into their sides.
Apparently, the Supercoach app was down when it happened. So literally
minutes. We probably crashed it.
Literally minutes. They come running out, no LDU, and Clarko is doing that interview on the boundary line. You know how all coaches do it. Pretty much confirming LDUs are laid out. So when you do pre-drinks, you got to take the UDL. You can't just take a souvlaki and some cheesels because you're going to get fucking weird looks and you probably get kicked out because of it.
I'll tell you what, though, the Cheesel still played another brilliant game. Larky, not so much, only the 2 goals, but 2 goals straight. So 12 goals straight for the year. He's still going strong. So LDU was apparently precautionary. I think it was a calf, a little bit of a calf niggle right before the bounce, or pretty much right before they were going out. So that's what I've got a bit informed from my special North Melbourne comments from my sister, who keeps me nice and informed on the things that go on down at Arden Street. So basically the thoughts I was having with this game was no LDU, no Simpkin, no midfield. They looked very thin.
Yeah, it's like a Ferrari without an engine. That's what North Melbourne were.
And that's the one thing I do still think that Hawthorn still have they do still have some players that can go through the midfield quite nicely. So I think a lot of that battle yesterday was won through the midfield, but also well done on Hawthorn for manufacturing a nothing forward line basically out of nowhere, and realistically holding off North Melbourne because they were coming strong to take them down, but just couldn't get over the line. But I do think now the Hawks need to do this every week. If you're a team like this that it's trying to get through the season, and that's the benchmark, is that sort of performance. Even though it's against North Melbourne, it's that sort of performance has to be the benchmark every week. That's the effort that's got to come out every week. That's what you hold yourself to. Surprisingly, one of the better games on the weekend. Less of probably still just as scrappy as some of the other games, but I guess it was just more entertaining from the Clarko versus Mitchell factor for me.
Hawks, they won it in the midfield 100%. I'll back that up for you. Plus 82 in disposals, plus 19 in clearances, and plus 51 with marks. So Hawks controlling the footy. Hawthorn, though, being the young side that they are, any other side would have destroyed North Melbourne on the day. 19 points. Only 3 goals scored in the second half. Hawthorn, they averaged 3 goals in the second half each game. So running out games could be a bit of an issue with this young side, but to get over the line by 19 points and be tested as well during that final quarter. We saw it quite a few times. Sides have easy or comfortable leads, margins reduced back to within a kick, and then they bounce back. I did want to bring up as well Tyler Brockman kicking 3 goals. Apparently, he's the only Hawthorn player that's a father.
Oh.
He's only 20 years old.
Yeah, so because I think is Luke Bruce now their oldest player on the list.
I think he's the only player over 30 at Hawthorn.
Yeah. So can confirm, not a father. So yeah, there's I mean, you got to remember this is also a club where I think the average age now is like 22, so or even lower than that. So
yeah,
I think he's the only person driving it up, and he realistically might be done at the end of the year or next year anyway. So yeah, their list profile is going to go way down in terms of age.
Oh, there's a couple of more things as well.
Yeah.
Did you see the Griffin Logue bump, and is he in trouble?
Now, it's an interesting one. I don't know. I don't actually know with this one. I think probably you're looking at a week based off of the past few weeks. But let's say in previous seasons he'd be getting off.
I was going to say Will Day gets back up. He hasn't fully run past the footy as well, but it's head-high contact, and straight away the commentators pointed out it's head-high contact. Do we pay it as a suspension? If he stays down, then it's right. He's probably going to get a
But
week.
I still think that even because you got to think of the Bailey, the Cozzy Pickett, Bailey Smith situation where he rocketed into him. Bailey got up straight away, but we still got, I think it was a 3-week suspension. So, or a 2-week suspension. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Basically, 2 weeks. So basically, yeah, he could be looking at the same sort of deal. Probably didn't rocket as much. So probably a 1-week deal. Probably more similar to the Buddy Franklin hit anyway. I don't know. Shane McAdams still probably kicking himself though at what if this is anything lower than 4. So yeah, bit of an interesting one. That one.
And there was one more. I'm not sure if you picked up on this as well. It does involve Griffin Logue. He was chicken winged by Joe Newcomb, and I don't know why anyone's not talking about it.
Did not see it.
Unless I'm seeing like out of context vision. So Bramble and Newcomb tackle Griffin to the ground. Griffin Logue loses his footing, so they both go down. If I had to compare chicken wings from Switter last year on Ginnivan to Chris Judd on Lee Adams, I think it falls right in the middle in terms of severity. I really do.
I mean, I like that you've got a scale.
I've got a scale on it. So Switter got 2 weeks on his chicken wing on Ginnivan. Judd got
5.
Yeah, I think he got over a month on Lee Adams, which dislocated
4 or 5,
shoulder.
yeah.
So there's no dislocated shoulder. Now it looked a little bit innocuous at first, but Jai Newcomb pulls the arm back while Logue's down, which if you see the replay of it, I'm looking at that and going, that's a week. That is a suspension right there. But this is Jai Newcomb, and he's playing Geelong Easter Monday. I think he gets off. I think this match review panel is a bit of a lottery at times. Griffin Logue's case is going to be 50-50. I think Newcomb gets off because he's Jai Newcomb and he's playing Geelong Easter Monday. I really do. It's kind of like Cripps last year, which I'm sorry to bring it up, but Cripps 99 times out of 100 would get suspended with that case against Brisbane. They've even admitted
he was favourite for the Brownlow.
I know. They've even admitted this year that Cripps should have been suspended. So I think Newcomb will probably get off because of his name and because it's against Geelong Easter Monday, which does suck, but given that tackle, given what I saw. Now, if I get the full footage, then all right, maybe I get a bit more context. Maybe there's something to it. But when you see it, you'll be saying the same thing. That's a suspension right there. Speaking of controversial decisions and actions, GWS v Carlton.
Very much so. 9-10-64 plays 9-20. Fuck. 74.
Do you want to shake my hand and say, oh, Pies fans, Blues fans, seeing their side win ugly?
I mean, we may as well. I mean, that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, that's all it was. Arrive, win, leave.
It's funny. I'm gonna say when I as our famous line of I'm gonna say from my notes, I've got you as a slog winning ugly. I've got Carlton winning uglier than Pies because we somehow made that one of the most difficult. Now I kind of look at it and go, if we actually took our opportunities, we decimate the Giants.
You would, absolutely.
Which we absolutely should have. Were throwing that game away at every opportunity we could, but it felt like the umpires were doing everything they could to keep us in it. Which I don't say too often. I don't say too often that there was a the big two that I have, and we may as well just go straight into it because this game doesn't need too much to go into. It was a very, very awful slog. Like I said, I think I said in the group chat yesterday, it was 4 points, move on, because it was awful. Yeah, I think the Giants were hard done by with some very interesting calls. The two calls that I have is that call, which is the one that everyone's talking about with the descent. Very, very stupid very, very stupid free kick. I've actually seen some people going at Carlton for it. You're picking on the wrong people. Carlton did not do anything. I think Carlton would have been happy with the point, and then just keep game on, keep game on. We're always going to be. I mean, any team, anybody's going to be happy also with a gift from the umpires straight in front. But what an absolute awful decision. Dissent for, and I think you've probably heard the umpire's explanation as well. That was even worse. He's sitting there going,
"It makes it absolutely worse."
He said this to me. It's like, did he even swear or anything else? Like, Jesus.
And I'm sure the umpire's looking. The umpire's looking at that as well and just thinking, "What a dickhead I am," or maybe not. But he exaggerated that as well. He's putting his arms up like that. Cogs didn't even do that.
And there was a good footage this morning from the Sunday Footy Show where Kane Corns did show, Mitch McGovern did it immediately after, did it a second later. So, realistically, umpires need to work out. I mean, we're back to working out what dissent is, what isn't. I thought we were past this. I thought we were okay with I thought we were back to basically what it was at the start of last year we're not abusing umpires. All it is, there's no swearing, there's no there's no pushing and things of that of umpires. All it is basically all it was yesterday was asking a simple question. And to me, Giants, you were absolutely hard done by. As a Carlton fan, 100% hard done by. You did not deserve, Carlton did not deserve that free kick in front of goal. As I said, we'll take it. It's all you can really say as a Carlton fan. What else? I'm not going to sit there and harp on about it. But unfortunately, that was the game too. That's probably the worst bit of it all, is that was what determined the game. Because it was such a slog and because of everything else, So to me, that's also pretty disgraceful overall, that a result like that. Because at the end of the day, the game wasn't good per se. But as a Carlton fan, I'm still entertained by these things. I still think the first half was quite entertaining. Definitely need to work on that goal kicking this week. Basically, one thing I wanted to bring up though, as well, was the Stephen. Did you see the Stephen Coniglio holding the ball decision?
No.
Okay, so there was a decision. This was late as well. I can't remember fourth or third, late in the third or early fourth, but basically, holding the ball decision puts Carlton 30 out in front, where Stephen Coniglio didn't even really have full possession of the ball. He's just sort of tapping it. To me, that's not full possession. And Motlop stumped him, and they've called holding the ball like he had taken it. Oh, I tell you what, I've never, and usually as a Carlton fan, we sit there and we go, we're hard done by, we're copping it. Yesterday, I don't think any Carlton fan could complain because we were gifted a lot yesterday, which was, I don't know, I don't like winning like that. That's where I think I sort of went, 4 points, move on. Not too happy, not too happy, not too sad, because at the end of the day, it's 4 points. I mean, we'll take it. We're the I love now being the unknown undefeated team, because everyone is talking about St Kilda and Collingwood is like, oh yeah, they're undefeated.
I'll admit it. No, I'll admit it. Carlton's undefeated.
Yeah, I go, wait a sec. We are undefeated. It was just funny because that's all I heard in commentary today, and then they kept correcting. They kept saying St Kilda, Collingwood are the only two undefeated teams. Then someone would have to jump in every now and again and go, Actually, Carlton is still undefeated technically. And like, it's just funny to me. But 30 behinds, 18 goals in this game.
It's a weird
Awful.
ground. It's a weird ground. That's just...
What do you think about them playing the VFL on it beforehand and absolutely tearing it up? Like that,
Okay.
it was torn to shreds.
That I didn't know about.
Yeah. So the VFL played on it directly beforehand, and the ground was awful after it. So it was slips galore again. I don't know whether we need to start wearing metal studs at Carlton or something.
No, please don't.
Oh, sorry.
Or had his shin split open because of that. So don't.
I'm just more saying in terms of like, I know I don't think we should actually wear metal studs, but it's more like, it's like, how do we keep our feet? Because geez, these grounds are absolutely killing us at the moment in terms of being able to keep our feet at crucial moments. I'm happy with it. I'm fine to move on. Anything else you want to discuss?
Just some individual performances. We do have to mention Patrick Cripps, career high 42 disposals, 13 clearances to boot. Doherty, 39 disposals, also kicked a crucial goal. Carlton, give yourself a little bit more credit with your defence as well. Nick Newman keeping Toby Green to just 5 disposals and a goal. Lewis Young on Jesse Hogan, still 2 goals for Hogan, but Lewis Young, another intercept mark with 30 seconds to go to win the game. Good on him. But
we love that man. We love him.
Sam Taylor on Harry Mackay kept Harry Mackay goalless. Sam Taylor doing Sam Taylor things though.
I believe I brought it up I might have even brought it up in the preview episode or episode 1. But either way, I said Harry Mackay is a slow starter to the season. But as well, it's one of those things where you got to kind of watch as a fan what he does around the ground now. He's playing more. Charlie's playing more of the stay-at-home forward this year, and Harry's playing more up the ground. He's got to get used to that, I think, which is something he hasn't had to do because Charlie's been injured for so long. So a little bit of a different role this year. Don't get worried, Carlton fans. Harry will get back to his best soon enough. Either way, you should be counting your lucky stars that we have 2 big forwards down there to kick to. Unlike some other teams that don't have anything to kick to in their forward lines. I mean, look at someone like a Freo who realistically have a makeshift forward line that they're trying to make work. There's other teams that don't have genuine forwards that we could mention. Hawthorn went into Saturday with no genuine forward. They have some on the list, of course, but they've got a couple injured. So, yeah, I think it's one of those things where Carlton fans just need to be grateful that we have those 2 big boys down there anyway.
Well, speaking of makeshift forward lines, more of a sticky tape forward line is St Kilda v Essendon. Saints 3-0 on top of the ladder, and they won in their 150th anniversary game. What the fuck is going on?
They're celebrating in style. It's in style, mate.
You don't win anniversary games, though.
No, you don't win anniversary games against Carlton.
That's fair enough. That is fair enough. But St Kilda, Cole Langford said during the week that St Kilda earmarked Essendon because they wanted to get a clear win or a penciled-in win, which kind of, I'm not pissed off St Kilda, but some fans took it wrongly. And St Kilda came out and said if they had their way, they would have had Collingwood for their anniversary game. I don't know why you're dragging Collingwood into this, but fair enough. They won the premiership against Collingwood in 1966. And it would have drawn a big crowd as well. This was a decent crowd, though. Essendon fans do turn up, win or loss or draw. But St Kilda, for the 9th time in their history, starting the season, 3 wins and 0 losses. Last time they did that was 2010. They made the grand final that year. There's always one game I'll go into during the week, or from time to time I'll go into it. There's one guy I'll point out and go, I'm watching him like a hawk. And that one bloke was Brad Crouch. And boy, did he stand up. The reason for that, with Jack Steele going down, their midfield was also decimated, but Brad Crouch deserves some credit. 32 disposals, 8 clearances, 6 tackles. But another St Kilda player stood up with Jack Steele out. Mason fucking Wood. 27 disposals, 11 marks. Took 11 marks across the entire ground. It wasn't up one end or anything. He was dominating everywhere and also kicked a goal, and he did it against his old coach.
Quick question. You love joking about your rolling AA. Is he in there?
He'd be in there. He'd he'd probably be leading the Brownlow as well.
It's crazy to think how, and I have this written down, that Saints role players at the moment, and I'm sorry that I've used the blasphemous term there, but Saints role players, Wood, Owens, Ross, is it just me, or is Ross the boss at the moment getting the best out of them already? And he's going to get more of those role players back soon. I don't know, man. He gets the most out of these players.
We're sitting here like Foo Fighters. Is someone getting the best of you? And that's what Ross Lyon is doing with St Kilda.
That's what Ross serenades his players with every time he walks into a club, because he's like, I'm going to get the best of you. Because I'll tell you what, it's crazy to watch him come in and absolutely turn a team, completely around in a space of a preseason. Now, I know it's possible, but I genuinely don't know what's going to happen with St Kilda this year. It feels like the sky's the limit and they're just going to go for it from here. Now, granted, they started the year off, 8-5 last year?
8-3.
8-3. So 8-3. So realistically, they had every shot last year at the midway point of the season. So let's reassess St Kilda when we get to that point to see where they're at. But realistically, brilliant start to the season. Looks like Ross is getting the most out of some, different types of players. I also had the Saints Smalls looked like they were on absolute fire last night. Higgins and Butler, 4 goals each. I saw Higgins look like Gresham as well, but it looked like Higgins was just having an absolute ball. Like I sort of said, was saying at the start, they were celebrating in style. Oh, he was popping that collar like no tomorrow.
Pop, lock, and drop it. That's what he was doing.
But yeah, it was, I'm not the biggest, growing up, like I mentioned many a time, growing up near Moorabbin, I've never been the biggest St Kilda fan, because it's the only thing that goes on around this area is always St Kilda this and St Kilda that. But I'll tell you what, it is good to see them playing well. It's good to see Moorabbin a buzz at the moment around the area. Yeah, Saints fans, you do deserve it at the moment. You're playing some damn good football.
The only negative about it is, yes, St Kilda are 3-0, but Ross Lyon is not a premiership coach.
He's still not a premiership coach. Speaking of people who aren't premiership coaches, speaking of people who aren't premiership coaches, Port Adelaide go down to the Crows 13-8, 86 to 18-9, 117. I'm sure you're happy that the prison bar wankers went down. I couldn't care less about the whole prison bar stuff.
Hang on. You would love this. You would have loved seeing Adelaide destroy the Magpies.
I mean, I just don't like Adelaide, so this was a game I just didn't really care. But I tell you what, Port blew it.
No. I actually disagree on that. I don't think Port blew it. Adelaide, first 2 rounds, just failing to convert. They could very well be 3-0 to start the season, Adelaide. I feel like a proud father. Adelaide finally converting. 55% efficiency inside 50, and they kicked accurately. So that's just me, though. I think Adelaide took their chances for once. If they keep that up, they will be a sneaky finals chance. But we can go back on Port Adelaide because I loved it. I
do think the Crows, I think the kids can play. I definitely don't think there's any doubt that a lot of these kids have talent. The problem that they've got now is the consistency problem. Yeah. They've got to get over this consistency hump that some of these kids have, because that's where I think it's haltering some of their development. They get dropped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This is where I think their development's getting halted. They get dropped. They get swung into different positions. Let them just build confidence. I still reckon one thing that Hawthorn and teams like that will do right is they'll leave players in those positions. They're not going to sit there and play around with the magnets and throw people out of the side willy-nilly. I do think that's one of the problems that Adelaide is going to need to address, especially when you have a win like this, because this was off the back of some of your kids, big time. Who are we talking like? Isaac Rankin was really good. Was it Thilthorpe? I hate saying his last name. Thilthorpe.
Thrillhouse.
5 goals. Like, some of those kids have a lot of talent. They just got to start playing a bit more consistently. But I reckon at this point is just a question is, what are the Power going to be in 2023? What is this team? I don't have the answer. I don't think Power fans have the answer.
I've got the answer, and I think I'll have it. I'll have it in song for you too.
Oh God, I knew you.
All right, I've got the answer for you. Are you a fan of Midnight Oil?
Yeah.
Firstly, I want to apologise in advance to Peter Garrett and Midnight Oil fans. I'm going to butcher it, but I've got the answer for Port Adelaide's woes so far in 2023. Oh, the Power's got no passion.
Oh, he's going to be so hated by Power fans by the end of the year.
Yeah, Power have got no passion. I do have a question for you, JD. Will the real Port Adelaide please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up.
I think losing Mr. Clutch Robbie Gray has hurt them too much.
Here's a weird thing as well. Thilthorpe kicked 5 goals, Rankin 4 goals, 17 disposals, Laird 26 disposals, 11 clearances and a goal. Connor Rosie 28 disposals, 6 clearances and a goal. Who do you think was best on ground?
I know who won the medal. Did seriously Jordan Dawson win that medal?
He did. Now, maybe there was some good leadership involved, but that would have to be it, because I thought Powell Pepper played a better game than Dawson.
Upsets of the year. Do we call it that already? Or do you think that it's mainly down to you called this, and I think you called it well? So, Suns beat the Cats 10-13, 73 to 7-12, 54. What a game for Jack Lukosius.
He has arrived. His hairline will arrive in 5 years' time, but he's arrived.
He's absolutely arrived. 5-goal performance, which is good to see some of these kids having absolute ripper 5-goal performances this weekend. Lukosius, Rao. It was a display of, what they are investing into. But on the other flip side, I do think it was also a display of Cats, Cats senior heads going missing late in the game. Patrick Dangerfield, I think, only had 2 disposals after half time. I could be wrong. I think it might be a little bit more than that. But, it was very low. Very low statistics after half time. But I just reckon the Suns can be absolutely anything with this list. They're a team that they're another team sort of like Port that's always teased us. I don't think we've ever really seen the best of the Suns. They always just about show us their best, but then they just fall short as usual, or they, absolutely blow the second half of the season and then fall completely out of it. And we're like, well, what was that first half of the season? You looked really deadly. So, definitely think it was an interesting game from the Geelong. Probably more of the midfield is where I'm coming from. They got absolutely destroyed by, like I sort of said, players like Witts, Rowell, Anderson, Took. Who else went through there? There was other players that went through. Basically, it was an all-round pretty much a 4-quarter performance from them, because all they kept doing it was pressure back and forth through the first 3 quarters, goal for goal, and then they just kicked away in the last quarter. So ripper performance from the Suns. The Cats 0-3 to start the season. Now, I think a lot of us have thought that this is a long time coming. Now,
I have waited
continue?
I have waited my entire life for this day.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, both of our Nathan and I have the privilege of having mothers who adore the Geelong Football Club. Shout out to our lovely mothers. But yeah, it's something that I always, and I'm going to pick on her for 2 seconds. It's something that I've always laughed that she tries to relate to us, me and my North Melbourne fan sister, who have been down the bottom for, we've suffered through some hard times, so we understand each other. But then she tries to relate to us, and we're like, Mum, you've never experienced the pain we have. Now, you may have in the past, but you definitely haven't experienced it in the last 20 years. So, Geelong fans, the pain, it feels like it might be coming this year.
Just what is going on with Geelong right now? Minus 17 in clearances against the Suns here. Tom Stewart was your best player, having come back from that knee injury. That's a bit of concern when someone that's half done, or not to full fitness, is your best player.
Well, they all look half done.
Shout out to David Swallow. 200 games, the OG of the Gold Coast Suns. We love him.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I don't think Geelong deserves as much attention at the moment, as opposed to the Suns deserve a bit of our love, because one, good game, as I sort of harped on before. Good performance from your midfielders, good performance from your forwards. And as you said, 200 games, David Swallow, what an effort. I think they said he's one of 5 inaugural Suns left. Dion, let's see if I can name them. Dion Prestia, Stephen May. Who else we got?
Sam Day still on.
David Swallow, Sam Day, but he's injured.
He's still on the list. Yeah, no, he's playing VFL, and there was one more. All right, let's do some spot quiz here. So we got Charlie Dixon, Stephen May, Dion Prestia. Oh, that's it.
Oh no, we named it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thank me for that.
Oh, go us.
The VFL, I want to bring that up. The Suns destroyed Geelong by 107 points. So you would have thought, all right, who can come in for Geelong? Maybe no one. Parfit, Sam Simpson, but no one's really kicking the door down at Geelong.
So interesting. Watch this space, as I love to say, with Geelong Football Club, because I think it could be a very, very rough year. I don't know if they're looking to back up their premiership at all. I don't think they care at the moment.
I mean, they got their premiership. They could be 0-20. They could be 0-23 by season's end. Who cares? They won the premiership.
Who cares? They're the reigning premiers. So, but it does make us all. Hey, it's annoying though. Every week that other teams beat them, it makes our wins look less and less. Tell you what, a steamroller came through the MCG late in that third quarter, and it hit the Sydney Swans, because Melbourne were on fire late in that second half. What an absolute flex of their muscle. They just went bang and just put the competition. And I always say with early games, but I reckon they've just put the competition on notice. This is what we are still capable of. And that's what we're capable of without Gawn. This is just what we're capable of.
You still got it.
Yeah.
You still got it.
This is what we've got after a week of preparation, of not having... Because last week, I think they were a bit thrown. They were like, okay, now we got to go Grundy the whole game. We weren't ready for this. Grundy's probably not ready for it either. He knew with the mindset this week he was going in with a full game and had a really good performance today.
He did. He really did.
Some of his... I mean, there was one I watched near late in the fourth. He just tapped it to himself and then just bombed it straight into the 50. And I'm like, he really is just another midfielder, isn't he? Some really big performances through their midfield. Brodie Grundy, Clayton Oliver, Petrarca, the usual names for Melbourne. Want to mention special shout out to Big Head, Chandler.
They got a lot of big heads at Melbourne, but Kate Chandler for sure.
For sure, that's a big head. But he had a really good performance today. I think he kicked 3 or 4 goals. Pretty much every disposal was a score involvement. FREvWCE was playing well down forward. Tactical sub of subbing out Ben Brown as well paid off dividends.
I thought it was an injury, and that made me really concerned for Melbourne, because that's a lot of responsibility on Van Rooyen and then throwing Harrison Petty down forward. But it paid off, and Van Rooyen stood up as well.
Big time. I was going to say a big shout out to Jacob Van Rooyen. Kid played kid played out of his skin. So second year on the list. So watch this space on Jacob Van Rooyen, I think.
No, I'll say it right now. The hype is real. He's going to be a very good player for Melbourne for years to come.
Yeah, so good to see him play very well. But those Melbourne mids, holy shit. When they're on, they are on. The tap work that they can, when they get hit clean, they just take off. They're probably the best. To me, they're the best in the competition when they're hit clean. Their next disposal is usually results in a goal, be it off their own foot or be it directing it directly to a forward. Now, to be fair, of course, that's 9 times out of 10 sort of thing. They don't always get through. But I think, it's funny. I think since the lights have went out at the Gabba, Melbourne have been playing some brilliant football. They finished off last week well. They took it into this week. They just kept that momentum going. I do have a question for you in relation to the Swans, because the Swans weren't terrible per se, but I do think one of the issues came from their forward line. It's the buddy debate.
Yeah. So it was brought up when Amada kicked 4 goals. McDonald kicked, I think 5 against Hawthorn last week. Can't really refresh my memory there. And the debate was, well, how do you fit him in? And I think they dropped McLean for him. Amadi didn't kick a goal. I think he threw 4 behinds.
Didn't have a trick.
Buddy Franklin kicking, I think, just 2 goals. He's been cleaned up by Stephen May in the past, but those 2 goals, I consider himself a little bit lucky. I'm not lucky or fortunate, but it's a bit generous on his stats to kick 2 goals. Speaking of Melbourne, I guess more their fans. Sunday afternoon, great weather. Your team's up there. Why don't you show up to support them?
Where were they? I will agree.
Actually,
no.
Stand.
I was going to say, wait a sec. No. Did you not hear the roar from behind the camera every time? Every single time you watch a Melbourne game, you've got to realise that the crowd is not where you think they are. They're sitting in the MCC, and that's where the noise is coming from. Because I can tell you what, I can't remember when they got on top late, the noise in the G was it was pumping. So I was sitting there going, there is fans there, but you can't see them. So we got to remember that they're in the MCC, they're with their cheese boards, and they're enjoying, their Grey Poupon or whatever. I don't think there's anything to worry about with the Swans. I do think it's sort of what you said. I think they just do think Melbourne just flexed their muscle a bit on them. They only got on top of them really late third quarter going into the fourth. The only worry I sort of had was the Buddy concern. I do think I don't know if he should be in the 22 anymore. I do think their forward line it's an interesting one, because there's times when he does Buddy things and you're just like, yeah, that's why he's in the team. Then there's other times that you watch him and you're like, this is why you kicked no goals in a grand final, and realistically, it felt like was the game between. Now, I don't know how you feel about it last year, but if Buddy was on last year during the grand final, it felt like it could have been a completely different game, especially early.
Yeah, early, 100%.
So, it's one of those things where I think the Swans need to start properly exploring these options and start winding Buddy down, which is, I know, harsh to say because there's a lot of Buddy fans out there. But what would you prefer, I guess, at the end of the day? Would you prefer to be winning flags or, watching a 95-year-old Buddy Franklin running around trying to kick goals still? Because, well, that's what it is. It's just he's so old at this stage and he's done so many injuries up to this point. He's just lost so much speed over the years that, I don't know. It's interesting when you've got these kids, like you said, that especially one that's out of contract, that you're not going to really look at developing even further. So, I don't know. Interesting one with the Swans. I love the word interesting.
I hate it. That could be my Meso's arrow. But speaking of Meso's arrow, it's your turn this week.
Goal kicking. I've put goal kicking on notice this week. What an awful week of goal kicking from some of our forwards and some of our teams. 7 teams kicked more points than goals this week. And I think that's actually 8 now. Goal kicking coaches need to take a real hard look at themselves, especially down at Carlton, and especially at teams like, now let me reference, teams like Brisbane this week, teams like Collingwood this week, teams like Hawthorn this week, even though they got up. Teams like Carlton this week, and it's the trend here as well. Most of these teams have gotten up, which is even worse. Saying some of the teams they played, but that's where I'm at. Is we are at a stage where we need goal kicking to be at an all-time prime. Us as fans, we need more goals. If the game is going to be so defensive, we need to be seeing goals kicked at a premium. We don't need to be seeing games where it's 10 goals, 32, and we don't need these St Kilda of last year and the year before games where they couldn't kick a goal to save their life. We need goals to be kicked and kicked well. Goal kicking coaches, forwards, take a good hard look at yourself this week. You've been arrowed.
Insert Xavier Dersma arrow. Jimmy Webster. It's not him. And he knows it. I'm a man of my word. I said last week if Judson Clark was named, he'd be in straight away. And I've got to get him in straight away. Judson Clark. A few things about him. Pick 30 in the 2021 AFL draft. He just played his 4th AFL game against Collingwood Friday night. A few interesting facts about him. As of this writing, 8,472 Instagram followers. Not bad for someone that's played 4 games. He's the lightest player to wear the number 42 Guernsey in Richmond's history. As far as his performance against Collingwood goes, 12 disposals at 91.7% efficiency. Pretty fucking good if you don't mind asking. 1 mark, 1 tackle, 1 clearance, 1 goal, and 1 nomination into the Boys Club Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Judson Fabio Clark.
We love your work, Judson. Well done, Richmond. 3 weeks in a row.
Oh, you've heard of the Calder Cannons Footy Factory. How about the Richmond's Boys Club?
I was going to say, is there a possibility that if they name Thompson Dow that they could end up back on the list again?
Who's next? Is it you or Meso?
I think it's Meso, so I no.
It's
me. It's me, because I picked Ben Miller week 1. So I reckon we could be on here for Thompson. If Thompson Dow gets named, Richmond. Just saying.
You remember this, pal. You're a boy in a man's world.
So my nomination for the Hall of Fame this week is Lim Jong from the Doggies. 67 games, but unfortunately had to end his career early due to multiple knee injuries. Everybody at one point or time loved this kid and wanted to see him get up and win a premiership. Absolutely amazing player. Gave it his all every time. His poor body just couldn't hold up.
So, welcome Lin Jong to the Stephenson Wary Hall of Fame. And we're giving him the little claps.
It's cash time!
Ouch!
5 + 1 taped match, which was taped in February.
6 matches.
6 matches, and we're going to talk about it. So the first one, we'll start with the taped one. AEW Dark, taped in late February. It was Takeshita v. Cole Carter, 9 minutes, 23 seconds. Takeshita with the win. A lot of love for Takeshita, the fans involved. Beaten down by Lee fucking Johnson at the end of the match. Why the fuck they did that, I don't know. Just fucking disgusting. All right, second match. We go to DDT Dramatic Dream Tour 2023 in Japan. Takeshita teaming up with Samurai Del Sol. Come on, let's do the taunt. The Cradle the Balls taunt from Samurai Del Sol, formerly known as Callisto. They took on Chris Brooks and Takashi Masada. 16 minutes, 20 seconds for the win. That's 2 wins so far. Next match, DDT Kangen Ashura collaborating with DDT Pro Wrestling, Tokyo Big Sight East Exhibition Hall. Another tag match, Takeshita and MAO against Hideki Akateni and Yukio Naya. My writing is terrible for that one, unfortunately. 12 minutes, 7 seconds. Another tag match and another win. That's 3 wins so far for the week. But we get into AEW Rampage, Takeshita v. Sammy Guevara. Did I watch it? Did you watch it?
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I'm literally just trying to look up the results now because I had a feeling I know exactly what happened. Do you want to go into Supercard of Honor first because or do you want to finish on a high?
We're going to finish on a high. AEW Rampage. A bridge too far for Takeshita. 9 minutes 43 seconds. Sammy Guevara with the win. Can I just say fuck Sammy Guevara, and also fuck Tainara Conti. Couldn't hack it in WWE. Can't hack it in AEW. And they'll be broken up in 6 months.
It's just, it's just sad that we could have got a perfect 5 from 5. But
hang on. 4 matches, 3 wins, 1 loss. There was another match. DDT goes Hollywood. Now, I've got to say this. It's WrestleMania weekend, which means there's a lot of wrestling shows that like to, cash in on WrestleMania weekend. And that's what DDT did. They went Hollywood as well.
Oh,
Takeshita v. Yuki Ueno, 15 minutes, 12 seconds at the Ukrainian Culture Center. Takeshita with another win. So bouncing back, 4 wins, 1 loss. But we get into Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. I'll let JD take over on this one.
Yeah, so I watched this one last night. Good fun, this one. Konosuke Takeshita versus Willie Mack on the 0 hour. Only problem is he's on 0 hour, so pre-show. But another big win for our boy. Defeated Willie Mack in, I think it was about 10 minutes. I think it could have been, about 10 minutes. Brilliant work from Takeshita as usual. Entertaining match. And you can absolutely bet that he adhered to the Ring of Honor rules and shook his hand after, because that's our boy and he adheres to the rules, but he also wins matches. So another big win for him.
What a week for Takeshita. 6 matches.
6 matches.
5 wins.
Jeez.
6 matches, 5 wins and a loss. 3 wins for the first time this season for us. Collingwood, Carlton, Fremantle, all getting
actually,
up.
we can announce that finally to finish the podcast. What a week in terms of 3 wins. I don't think we've had that now. I think we looked it up. Was it round 5 last year?
The Anzac Day.
That's so long ago. So it's taken us nearly a full season to get 3 wins in one. Now I take full responsibility for all the late season stuff, but you had to take you had to take them during the season. Sorry, the start of the season. Then Meso had to take middle of the season. So either way, we all had weird lulls, except for mine resulted in missing finals, unlike you two. But as you said, 3 wins, mate. 3 wins from 3 wins from all 3 of our teams. That's what we love to see at the AW Journeyman.
Something positive to take out of this week. It was another tipster's nightmare, or for me at least. I'm clutching at that championship right now.
You are
20 more rounds.
The nullable.
No, I think you and Meso are on. You're even. I'm a few behind right now, but I'm going to chip away at it. And who gives a fuck? If I lose, I'll just buy another one.
Then you just have to, yeah. But we are the AWO Journeyman, JD, Nate, and Meso. Remember to follow us on Instagram at AWO Journeyman. Subscribe to our Spotify and YouTube, AWO Journeyman. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. And please drink more water.
And gamble responsibly.